The encounters I will be sharing will be in sections that had happened to me to lead up to the attachment. In 2019, I graduated high school and went to college 2 hours away from my home. I was so excited and happy to be far, yet close enough to go back home if needed be. Little did I know how bad things would turn out for me. It always started small, so I always brushed them off as my imagination and to stop overthinking. Being that I grew up in a shaman household and having some abilities, I've always been sensitive, occasionally seeing things and only being able to communicate through dreams. Some people probably won't believe this, but I know what I saw, heard, and have experienced. Moving into this college was great. I had some friends from high school who also came to the same college, and I made some friends online. I felt more excited than scared, which I thought would be a great thing. A couple of months in, I did not experience anything much until one night. I was in my room alone, just laying in bed, listening to music. I laid in the dark on my phone texting my boyfriend at the time when I heard a noise in the room. My room had carpet, and it was like the standard short carpet that schools and office buildings would have. It was really rough, and walking on it, you could hear every little noise. After hearing that sound, I sat up, looking around, thinking that my roommate might have came in. But when I looked around the dark room, there was nothing. Shrugging it off, I laid back down. Then, the noise happened again. It sounded like someone's fingernail or toenails were purposely gliding along the carpet slowly. I sat up again, even more confused. I turned on my phone flashlight and quickly walked to the door and opened it to see if my friends came by. Perhaps they thought it was funny to scare me, but when I opened it, no one was there. I closed the door but just stood by it, turning off my light to attempt to catch my friends. Then, the noise happened again. I swung the door open so fast, but there was no one or nothing out there. I closed the door and began to walk to my bed, but only made it 2 steps away. That's when it happened again, but this time, coming from my roommate's closet. I turned around as fast as I could and flipped the light switch on, hoping that it was just a mouse or something running around my room. But nothing. A little sketched out, I just ignored it entirely, not wanting to scare myself anymore. I put on my headphones and turned up my music really loud. I decided that some homework would be best to distract me from it, so I started to do my research paper. Some time had passed and I started to get tired. As I began to put my things away, I felt a cold hand on my shoulders as if someone was trying to hold me down in my seat. What the hell? I thought to myself as I turned. Why are you touching me like that? Expecting to see my roommate, but no one was there. I felt my heart drop. I turned around and closed my laptop and quickly grabbed my stuff to wash up. As I was about to leave, my roommate walked into the door. Hey, did you just get out of class? I questioned. Yeah, today and Wednesday will be my late days. Starting today, I have one class at an off-site building. I nodded in response. Okay, well, I'm gonna wash up, smiling as I walked away. Still feeling a little scared, I cautiously walked to the bathroom. The bathrooms always scared me. They looked pale yellow and resembled a hospital. On the left, there were 2 shower stalls, and on the right, there was a long mirror with 4 sinks and 2 bathroom stalls. There was also a full-body mirror on the wall by the door. The lighting wasn't the best. It amplified the yellow walls even more. I called my boyfriend to video chat since I got scared from earlier. Why are they chatting in the bathroom? We chatted for a few seconds when he said, "Oh, someone just came in. I can call you later." I told him to stop playing around. As I looked around me, no one came in. It was literally just me in there. The doors to the bathrooms are heavy, so when they close, they always make a noise to which I did not hear. My boyfriend then stated that he saw someone wearing a light blue dress. I told him to stop talking, and I quickly packed up my stuff and left. By the time I walked into my room, my roommate was dead asleep. I quietly put my stuff away and laid in bed. It was around 1:40 a.m., so I hung up with my boyfriend and attempted to sleep. That's when I heard the scratching noises again. My eyes shot open. I started to panic a bit, and I could feel my heart beating faster and faster. It started to scratch louder and louder and faster as it came towards me. I tried to sit up in bed. That's when I knew I was having sleep paralysis. I wanted to cry. I tried to wake myself up, but nothing happened. I tried to stay calm when I looked down towards my roommate's closet. Sitting on the floor, her torso and upper body was leaned down, almost as if she was sleeping on her stomach, her head touching the carpet facing the end of my bed. Her legs were strangely bent, making the letter M, but her body was inside in between her legs. Her arms were so long, and her nails were even longer. They were slowly gliding across the floor. I watched as her fingernails slightly vibrated from sliding across the carpet, making that scraping sound I have been hearing. I heard her gasp, "Help! Help me!" I watched in disbelief. She slowly started to sit up, then stand up while repeating, "Help me! Help!" With each "help me" getting more and more aggressive. By the time she was standing, she was hunched over the ceiling as she was too tall. Her long arms pointed straight at me, those long nails nearly reaching me. She looked almost like the character from the movie Mama. "Help! Help me!" She screeched one last time before lunging at me. I gasped as her weight was over me, and it was unbearable. I felt as if I was going to die from being crushed. I pleaded for it to stop. I pleaded and pleaded to no end. Closing my eyes out of fear, I could feel her hair touching my face. I smelled a wet, old, moldy smell, and at my last breath, I pleaded to my grandma to help me. And within seconds, I sat up in bed in a sweat. I was out of breath, still trying to collect myself. My heart was pounding so hard and loud. I felt like any faster, it would stop. This nightmare was so vivid, I could still feel my face tingling from where her hair was touching my face. I eventually relaxed, and before going to bed, I texted my friend to see if she wanted to get some lunch after our class. I woke up at around 9:30 a.m., and I got ready to go get breakfast at the cafeteria. My friend, let's call her Mai, she was busy, so we planned for dinner. Fast forward to dinner with my friend. Mai's dad was a shaman, so she had many experiences growing up. We were cooking in her dorm's kitchen when she mentioned she had an odd dream last night. I quickly added, "Really? Me too." She looked up at me in disbelief. "No, I really did. I've never had a dream like this before," I said while stirring the contents in the pan, trying to not look scared. We eventually started to tell each other our dreams, and they were almost identical. At this point, we were eating on the couches near the door. Mai's room had a bunk bed and she slept on the top. Mai said, "In my dream, I was laying in my bed and I kept on hearing this scratching noise coming from my door. But I didn't see anyone's shadow or shoes from under the door. I thought it was just my imagination, so I went back to laying down and going on my phone. That's when I kept on hearing the scratching noises. Irritated, I looked again at the door, but nothing. Then I heard it from my closet at the end of my bed. So I turned to look, and that's when I saw it. She was tall with long arms and really long nails, and she pointed at me, yelling, "Help me, help me." I woke up because my mom was calling me, and I told her about my dream. She told my dad. He said a chant over the phone to protect me. I then told Mai about my dream, and the both of us just sat in disbelief. That's when I started to feel really uncomfortable, as if someone else was in the room with us. I heard a slight, as if someone was tapping their nails on a table. Mai was talking to me about something, but I was distracted and kept looking behind her. What? What is it? Mai said. Nothing. Just some people walking by the window, as I nervously laughed. She shrugged her shoulders and kept talking. That's when I looked behind her again, and the roll of napkins flew from the middle of the table to the floor, making a loud noise. Mai jumped up and ran. Stunned, I ran after her, screaming, "You were just going to leave me?" We ran all the way to her dorm room and stayed in there for probably 10 minutes before we had the courage to go back down and collect her belongings. This was one of the things that happened to me while I was at that school. Many small things would begin to happen that led up to my attachment, but I ended up leaving the school for a personal reason. It wasn't until my aunt, who also went to that school, said some strange things to me when she came to visit. Interested in sharing your stories? Submit them to HmongChronicles@gmail.com or in the description below. Here is the next story. Thank you. I went to a tiny college in a small town. The college is pretty isolated from the town itself. It's also surrounded with trails and small patches of forests. This happened when I was a first year in college. My cousin, who is a year younger than me, decided to come visit me. She was interested in my school and wanted to come tour and do an overnight stay. She came during my finals week, which wasn't ideal, but it fit her schedule. She got a tour of my school, and I showed her some of my favorite spots on campus. I told her that since it was finals season, I had to get some studying done. I usually only study in the library because I get distracted very easily, so I told her I was going to go to the library. My cousin didn't want to stay with my roommate, and she had homework to do as well, so we packed our bags and headed to the library. I felt bad for her, so I bought a bunch of snacks and drinks from the campus convenience store, and we went to the library. When we got to the library, my favorite study spots were occupied. If you're a college student, then you know that there's always that one spot you like to study in. Luckily, our library is huge. We found a study space in the top floor of the library. It was around 11 p.m., so even with the big windows, it was pretty dim. The entire section of our area was empty except for the two of us. I usually studied on the main floor where there was a lot more people whenever I studied late into the evening. I'm usually a very paranoid person, but I wasn't scared because my cousin was with me. I sat at the table and she sat on the couch. At first, we were loud and chatty, so we didn't feel the ominous atmosphere, but we eventually quieted down and focused on our work. I could hear noises, but it wasn't like the library was completely empty, so I didn't think much of it. At around 1 a.m., my cousin had finished all the snacks and drinks I bought her and needed to use the bathroom. It was straight down the long hallway, but she wanted me to go with her. It wasn't weird to me because girls always go to the bathroom together, so we went. Most parts of the library has sensor lights, so if an area doesn't detect movement for about 30 minutes, then it turns off. However, these lights are very sensitive in my experience. As long as I fidgeted in my seat, the sensor would detect me and not turn off. My cousin and I were being obnoxious in the bathroom because she needed to poop, and I was making fun of her. After being poop shy for about 5 minutes, she gave up and we headed out. All the lights were turned off. We were the only ones left on the floor because the lights in the other sections turned off except for ours. When we walked to the bathroom, we triggered all the lights, but when we came out, the only lights on were the hallway lights. I felt a shiver down my spine. "Do they turn off the lights at 1 a.m.? she asked. "I don't know. I've only been on the main floor. I've studied until the library closed before, and this never happened," I answered. "Well, when does the library close?" she asked. 3 a.m., I responded. "But I'm not sure. Maybe they turn off the lights around 1 a.m. on the other floors since it's not the main floor," I tried to explain. However, I've never studied on this floor to confirm that theory. My cousin just nodded and we proceeded to our study spot. Luckily, the lights turned back on as we walked and triggered them. I kept studying and my cousin started to pack up. "Let me know when you're ready. I'm done studying," she said. She played on her phone while I kept on studying. We sat in silence for about 40 minutes until we heard a library cart being pushed around. I shot a look at my cousin. I looked around and our lights were the only ones on. Okay, there has to be something wrong with these lights, I thought to myself. I tried to continue to look at my papers. The cart was being pushed closer and closer to us. I picked up my laptop and sat next to her. As soon as I did that, the cart stopped. Crap, did whatever it was see me? Suddenly, the big double doors to enter the library creaked open. These double doors led to the main stairs that would be taken down to the main floor. Did whatever it was leave? I didn't know whether to be relieved or scared. I quietly packed up my stuff. "Let's go," I whispered. My cousin and I walked towards the door. We were about 20 feet away from the door when we saw the door being slowly pushed open. I looked at my cousin and she pulled me behind a bookshelf. The door opened a fourth of the way and quickly slammed shut. I was frightened in that moment and I couldn't even scream. My cousin was scared too, but she's a rising shaman, so it's safe to assume that she wasn't as terrified as I was. I think whatever was there could sense how scared I was and began messing with us. The door started opening and closing. It wasn't like in the scary movies where it dramatically opened and closed. The doors have the big horizontal push bars, and you have to push those bars in order to get out. I hope that makes sense. Anyways, that bar was being pushed, and the door would open ever so slightly and close again. Then, we heard footsteps slowly walk up and down the main aisle. Up and down. Stop. Up and down. And stop again. Then, we heard running around the entire floor. It sounded like whatever they were taunting us, running up and down the aisles. I started to tear up because I was so scared. This continued on for about 5 minutes. At this point, I was pissed off. It was 2 a.m. and I was scared and tired. My cousin took out a red triangle pouch and handed it to me. She left our hiding spot and walked straight toward the door, leaving me behind. As soon as she walked, I ran behind her and noticed the door immediately stopped moving. She pushed the door and we walked out. I've never walked down the stairs that fast in my entire life. As we were walking to my dorm, my cousin pulled my arm and said, "Let's not take that way." "Why? It's shorter. I just want to get to bed," I said. "Trust me," she said. I trusted her, so we walked a different route. When we got to my room, we didn't even shower. We went to go brush our teeth together and slept. Before we went to sleep, my cousin told me to hang the red triangle pouch on my door handle. That night, I had a dream about a girl. She was dressed in a white gown. She looked humanly, but with pale skin. She didn't look scary, but she felt scary. In my dream, she was knocking on my door, but I didn't recognize her, so I didn't let her in. "I know you're in there. Open the door. I need your help," she whispered. I sat on my bed and the knocking continued. "Go away," I yelled. I laid in my bed and turned my head toward the window and saw a horrible image of the girl. Her face was swollen, gray, burnt and bloody. Her tongue stuck out and her hair was raggedy. She was furious, breathing heavily. She looked through my window and launched right toward me. That's when I woke up in a cold sweat. I started to cry. It was already 9 a.m. and my roommate was gone. She worked at 8 a.m. on Saturdays. Luckily, my cousin was sleeping on the floor and woke up to the sound of my scream. I explained my dream to her. She told me about the incident that we encountered the night before. "Your school is haunted as hell," she said. She told me that I had a weak spirit. I get scared easily, which makes me an easy target, but I was especially vulnerable because my spirit was extra weak. It was probably due to the stress of college and finals and the lack of eating and sleeping. She told me that she felt like something was off when we found our study spot, but she thought that maybe it was a Friday and a lot of people didn't want to study that night. When she asked to go to the bathroom, she didn't want to leave me alone. That's why she told me to go with. Then, she asked me something that spooked me even more. Do you guys store cadavers here? Yeah, not frequently, but I think they got new cadavers for finals. For those of you who don't know, cadavers are dead bodies that are donated for medical practices. We have a lot of pre-med students who work with cadavers. Remember when I told you to take another route last night? Well, I wanted to avoid the building that stored them. I could feel them there. Don't walk there anymore. The building that they stored the cadavers in was right next to the library. I didn't even know and have walked past that building so many nights. I don't think the dream was for you. I think they were trying to get to me, but I was protected, so she came to you. She couldn't get through the door because of the pouch. That's why she went to your window. I'm gonna need a pouch for my window too, was all I could say to her. She also told me she felt other ghostly presences around me because I was so weak. They wanted to weaken my spirit and possess me. Good thing I didn't take off my red strings. I was curious about the encounter in the library, so I searched it up. There was a whole thread of students talking about their experience in the library, specifically on that floor. No wonder there wasn't any students up there. I don't know exactly what happened to cause that paranormal activity, but everyone talked about the library cart noise. Apparently, a librarian had a heart attack while on the job, and her ghost still haunts the library. Needless to say, I transferred out of there after my first year because I just couldn't handle walking around campus at night after that. Good thing I'm a bad student and I don't study. Anyways, thank you for listening. Subscribe.